YouTube. What the fuck? Okay. Man, I don't know about these bozos.
Do you want your chat box back?
Oh, it'd be kind of nice.
Well, it's there, but
it is now, but I still can't really see it because that needs to go down, but I can't do that.
Pop-up chat.
Wow, that's working good. Okay, what did you do now? We're working on it, folks. We're working on it. Okay.
There.
Don't worry too much. As long as they can see me and see the thing.
Hi, everybody.
Can you see this? Okay. Top chat, live chat. Okay, let's see. Can anyone type anything in there just so I can see if it's working now? Hi, Firefox. Thank you. Oh, my goodness. As usual, things change for no apparent reason. Hello, Lewis. Oh, yeah, YouTube has this amazing, and of course, I guess a lot of these type programs, they just update, change. Sometimes I just hit a keystroke. That's on the last computer. I removed the control key from over here and the caps lock key from this side, because whenever I'd go for the shift button, I might hit any of 3 different buttons, and going control and then hitting a bunch of things over here without looking, it does unusual stuff in a rather unpredictable manner.
That's why we need to find somebody who knows how to disable keys on the
maybe Ryan will be able to when he's here, because that'd be good. Say, just, I don't want any of those keys over there to work except just the shift key. Oh.
There's got to be a way to do it. There used to be a way to do it anyway.
Okay. So I presume, yeah, that's what just annoys the crap out of me. You know, they keep changing everything. I don't understand these people that like to get the latest smartphone or whatever. You know, if they're updating like every 6 months. It's
wow,
like,
we've already gone up $7 billion.
You know, holy crap. You know, I can't keep track of it as it is. Why would you want to deliberately get a new device? Especially as then you have to import it. I've literally got 3 different computers on this desktop right now. And computer 1 has stuff in it that the other computers don't. And computer 2 has stuff in it that none of the other 2 computers have. And this computer 3, it doesn't have too much stuff yet, but you can see the progression. Oh, interestingly enough, I'm only seeing 2 people that I would usually see. Well, not even that. I mean, there's usually people. I only see 3 people showing up. Little one, could you check and see what's going on?
Well, I'll see if I can get on, dude.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do something.
Because Firefox, I'm not that familiar with. Lewis Brewer, I'm not that familiar with. Yeah, exactly. Usually we got a dozen.
All right, let me see. View from the Penthouse, live, waiting, scheduled for whatever.
It says I'm on live here. These people are obviously able to hear me.
Can you see me?
Huh?
I just typed on there. Can you see it?
No, I do not. I do not see anything from you, little one.
You may have to give up on the idea of chatting at all.
There's
Hi,
Jimmy.
Jimmy. Yeah, for some reason I'm not on this list either.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, leave it like that for now. Well, no, I mean Eva just logged on
Yeah, I just came on
and
and I'm
and
not
typed a
showing.
comment, and it never showed up on my screen. She did that from her smartphone over there.
Yeah, can anybody see my comment? Hi, Mr. Virtue.
Does oh see, I didn't see Mr. Virtue. Um. Okay, Mr. Virtue, we're not seeing you now, but you were on just before. I was typing. That's what I was doing something. Then when I hit start, it did something weird. Huh. Oh dear. Okay, let me try something. I'm going to close this screen here.
Yeah, look at your main screen and see if you
Jimmy Robertson, hi. No, nothing there.
Yeah, Mr. Virtue and I are currently having a conversation.
Honey Bunnies just showed up.
We're talking under live chat right now, but I'm not seeing you live.
Yeah, are you seeing me at all?
I'm seeing some your whatchamacallit, your thing.
Hi, Chris. What do you mean my thing?
The thumbnail or whatever.
Just the thumb. You're not seeing the video.
It says waiting for Hard Rock University.
Fascinating.
So I have no idea.
Hey, Mr. Virtue, why don't you log off and log back on again and see if you get, because Honey Bunny just got here, Brian Smith just got here, Chris Saucier.
All right, I'm trying to get on right now. Now I'm seeing you live.
Okay.
But I'm not seeing my comments on here from before.
Obviously, it kind of glitched and double tracked or something. So everybody that doesn't see your comments, hi, Honey Bunny, just go ahead and log off and then log back on, see if that fixes it. I'm kind of waiting to see Mr. Virtue again. Okay, Eva, got you now.
I'm not seeing Mr. Virtue on here.
Okay, he's probably in the process of redoing it. Would be my guess.
Hi, Honey Bunny.
Okay, so yeah. The usual YouTube hell. I say we're going to be working on about a month now. Her son will be here, and we'll see about getting some other program loaded up to hopefully.
I am going to work on it before he gets here because I have to get I have to get the hardware on it this coming weekend.
Okay.
We will not be going in the field.
Yeah, we're not planning on going in the field this weekend. We've got a number of things to get caught up on at the mill and such.
I'm seeing 10 people watching on here, but I'm not seeing. Yeah. It's just me and Honey Bunny chatting at the moment.
Yeah, but there was a number of other ones that showed up on this. Anybody who's put in a comment recently, does Google own YouTube? I think Google does, don't they, little one?
Yeah, Google owns everything.
But anyhow, if you've tried posting something and you don't see it, go ahead and try logging off and on. Yeah, got you, Brian. Got you, Lewis. Anyhow, so I've got that impact mill. Wow, that light's kind of unfortunate back there, but I can't control the sun. Get a little bit closer to her.
Hi, Chris. Saucier.
Better. Yeah, okay, Brian. Does the resin work? It seems to work just fine under certain conditions. We're not sure about all the parameters, but just recently we've been looking this ore from the top of the hill stuff has a lot. Hey, Dave, clay or something. I mean, it's really, really. It just stays in suspension forever.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, that's putting it mildly.
So it's just being a huge problem for Eva to do the spot tests and the Eco Gold X titrations and
I
stuff.
can discuss that too.
And so she has been doing some experiments with using a flocculant, and she can get into that later. But um, preliminary testing indicates that the flocculant is not adversely affecting the gold concentration spot test. Okay, we're not certain. We're going to have to get some uh, laboratory confirmation and stuff um, to verify, but it seems to be doing a good job. And um, first of all, I'd like to say Eva has been a tremendous help over the last week or so. Um, it's been rough on me. My body's just not has the energy it's had in the past. And she's actually been setting the pace a little bit sometimes out in the field. She's always, right there, plugging away, which is always a comfort. But she really pulled her weight, and she's done a lot of stuff on the computer in the last few days that has been very, very helpful.
Dave sent you an email.
Yeah, I see. Let's see. Ka-tink. There you go. Okay, let's take a quick look at this. Well, that one's got a pretty firm opening. That looks pretty good. Definitely secure. Yeah. What kind of grades have you got, Dave? Hey, Shaggy. That's a nice looking portal. So, as I say, it was kind of a tough weekend. We need to make sure she's going to try her combat boots on next time. The hiking boots she was wearing really didn't have good lugs. So when we were going on the hillside, it was a little slippery for her, which is not good, especially if she's got worn out knees also. So she has to be pretty careful there.
It depends on what the feet think of the idea.
But we explored, first day we explored one area that we hadn't been to before, found that one working, and got a little quartz sample. Haven't had a chance to evaluate it yet. That's pretty good, Dave. And then we had that large trench there, and that pretty much rolled craps. There's nothing even. I tested in that trench I was digging. I did hand panning, but I couldn't really find anything there. And then we hiked down that other mine. So it was visible on the satellite.
Wow.
But we really didn't have a good idea what we were getting into, except from Google Earth, I could tell that it was a fairly steep hike, so to speak. It was not going to be horizontal. And so we were anticipating certain grades. We couldn't possibly anticipate what the condition of the road was. And except for a couple spots where a number of trees blew down all at once in one spot, it wasn't bad at all. Um, we anticipate with just a little bit of clearing of down trees, we should be able to get the quad down in there, and that will make a huge difference. We can get some decent sampling done. We didn't have near enough time to give but the most cursory of examination. I mean, really cursory. And so we've got a lot of work to do there in terms of uh, finding out what the heck is there. We were able, with Eva's help, to go through some old records and stuff and find one notice about this mine. It was a production thing or whatever. It gave us some. So we now have a name, and we have some kind of production numbers, which indicates A, it was a gold mine, and had, some kind of production. I can't give you any more details now. Those dumps are big. It looks to me, as I said in the video, I'm guessing there's a fault line that runs where that water course is. And that's also where the dumps are. So it's like, yeah, okay, fault line, then a vein, then the mines get punched into it. That's my guess. Don't know. We're going to have to go and do what we can between the workings we were on and a working we can see up the hill. There's several hundred feet of water course. And I want to examine that with some care to see if we can find areas where you've got clean bedrock. Hello, Lars. And so we can visualize exactly what's there. And so that needs to be done. There's also some other workings on the hill that we need to be visualized. We need to actually get boots on the ground. And we got a bunch of claim corners to put in. Now, the nice thing is, in the state of Montana, you can use a tree, which makes life much easier. You don't have to carry the post with you. But we got, well, let's see. That is a pre-existing post. We just have to find it and add a label. That's a pre-existing post. We just have to find it and add a label. That's a new one. 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 So we got 4 load claims and 4 posts for a placer claim. Hey, Mr. Virtue. So one bizarre thing, the government, of course, never has to justify its actions in any way, shape, or form, and the BLM likes to invent rules. Now, the law in 1872 laid out the rules, supposedly. BLM keeps changing them. For example, it used to be if you had unclaimed ground and you staked a load claim, you automatically got the placer. Okay, it was just like you were staking a placer claim at the same time with no extra paperwork involved. Okay, you could also stake a load claim underneath a pre-existing placer claim, and that's okay as long as you can get a valid discovery without interfering with the mineral rights of the other person. For example, if it's completely overlaid by placer claims, how do you get a discovery? Now, Firefox, you do not have to submit an assay to get a BLM claim. You have to be able to justify, in case of dispute, that a prudent person would have a reason to believe that a valuable mineral might be able to be extracted at a profit. Again, the BLM keeps changing what that means. That seems pretty clear to me. You just have probable cause to believe there might be something interesting there. Um, Lately, they've been trying to basically say, no, you have to have proof. Well, how can you have proof if you don't have the mineral rights? And if you don't have the mineral rights, how can you make the proof? You know, it's pretty stupid, but they keep doing this kind of thing. Now, another thing that they've done, the methodology for staking pretty much, Mr. Virtue. The methodology for staking a placer claim or a load claim used to be fairly straightforward. You'd say, here it is. It's no more than 600 feet wide, no more than 1,500 feet long, and oriented thusly. Here are the corners, blah, 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 done deal. Well, now the BLM has decided that new placer claims have to be staked according to the cadastral survey. You know, the township section, range, quarter section, quarter, like that. So the placer claim may not line up with the load claim at all. Those dumps that you saw, because they're on Forest Service land that was currently unclaimed, those were placer. Those are not bedrock in place. Therefore, in order to acquire the rights to those dumps, we had to file a placer claim also, oriented differently. I was not prepared for that, so I had to do calculations and this and that and the other. It can be a real pain in the ass. Okay. But anyhow, what we wound up doing with what we did this weekend, we staked 3 claims, 2 load, 1 placer, basically contiguous. The placer is almost entirely on top of the 2 load claims, a little bit sticking out onto unclaimed land in 2 corners. Okay. I think it's the more fees. That's why they want you to have to stake a placer too, because that's an additional fee. Okay. But anyhow, so we've got a situation where we have some claims staked. Now, in order to stake the claim, in order to acquire the mineral rights initially, you have to file a notice of location. And that will be at the claim itself. You have to have a monument notice of location. Okay. Then you're supposed to, within 30 days, file a certificate of location at your county recorders and to properly monument all the corners of the claim. Okay, you got 30 days to do that. And then you file the certificate with the BLM and stuff. Okay. Now, just to be sure, because I thought that looks pretty good there, I filed copies of the discovery notices at the courthouse this morning. And that way, we now have an independent timestamp that we could refer to, and it's $5 a claim. Whoop-de-doo. Just say, basically, I just have a copy of it recorded at the county recorder's office. It's not the final document that needs to be done. The final document is going to be the certificate of location. That requires signatures, notaries, complete description of the claim. It's a lot more complicated process. I'll have plenty of time to do it, but I wanted to get a timestamp on something so that we don't have a problem in the future. It's clearly, we got the priority on this. So we've got a bunch of corners to stake. We've got to clear the deadfall from the road so that we can get down there and start pulling samples. It was a chore for Eva and I to haul back 20 pounds of samples, maybe probably a little over 20 pounds of samples total, because that's a pretty steep grade. Let me just see. What's the average grade on that road here?
I think you said it was 15%.
Well, let's see. Let's go to Tools, Ruler. Okay, at this point here, we've got things. Elevation is 7071. Okay, and click that. Get out of the way, thank you. And then go to here. Okay, and that is, according to this, 6782 over a distance of 1,034 feet. So getting my little calculator out.
Ooh, Culture Crunch is
CO71. Hey, Culture. Minus 6782. Vertical drop of 289 feet. So 289 divided by 1,034. An average slope of, ready for this little one?
What?
28%.
Okay, so I was not entirely stupid.
Along the road.
You were the one who said 15%. I thought you were full of it. I kept my mouth shut.
Yep. Okay. So it was a walk. Neither Eva and I are the youngest of spring chickens. Of course, she's much a younger spring chicken than I am. But nevertheless, we both had to work to get back. Now, even the last run, that was another 600 feet, and that dropped 6650. Okay, so another 120 feet drop and 600 feet horizontal. So about the same thing for another 600 feet. So we had to be concerned with the trip back because we had no reasonable options. We either made it back to the quad and therefore to camp, or else we got a problem. We got a serious problem. Luckily, we did have cell phone coverage there without too much
Honey
problem.
Bunny says her whole property is that steep except the sheer vertical cliff in the middle.
Ooh. Well, I'm glad I don't live there. But anyhow, yeah, Culture, we only were up at 7,000 feet. So, yeah, it makes it more difficult.
I did it 75 paces at a time.
Yeah. But anyhow, so we had to be concerned. Plus, it started raining. It stopped fairly quickly, but nevertheless, it's like, okay, we're looking at thunderstorms. We got a long trip back. So we couldn't carry much in the way of samples. Therefore, even with whatever we got to test, we really won't know much. And so, I say, it's just one of those things.
Saucier commented about vehicles.
Yeah, well, that quad's got a low range and stuff. I say, I don't see a problem.
I don't think the quad's gonna like it.
That road over to the Buckhorn has stuff like that. That road, there's other places that we've been that have had steep grades like that. The only real concern I have is cooling, because you won't be going very fast going uphill. If we have to keep it in, like, hey, Ricky, in first gear, low range, might be an issue. That quad has racks on it for 6 buckets, which loaded to a reasonable amount, you're looking at 200 pounds. So that's a potential issue. We shall see. If it turns out to be inadequate, there are options. Um, I don't think we're going to need them, but it is a long run too. It's not like other places where we've got, a little 200-yard run. So we shall see what we shall see. Um, I don't know.
Hi, Ricky.
Um, so, SA, that's on the list is to get reasonable access so we can get samples. I mean, I can see the need for a lot of sampling there, a lot of exploration, trying to find the openings. I'm sure there's a couple of drifts there. Those dumps, in my opinion, were not bedrock dug from the side of the hill. Okay. Those were dug from tunnels out of the hill. Okay. Therefore, um, it's a matter of finding what there is, getting exposure. Now, that you notice this trip, there was two other things where we were trying to get the actual mineralized structure exposed so we could sample it. One was that big trench, and the other was over at the Discovery Cabin. And we finally, after what, 4 days of digging?
Yeah.
Something like that. We finally got exposure on the vein at the Discovery Cabin. And the culture, when we're looking at old prospects or mines, they were looking at or mining something. Okay. You don't dig a big hole in the ground just for the exercise. The question is, what were they doing? Now, it can be a lot of different things. Number one, there was a little crack showing, and they were just following it, hoping they'd see something. It'll open up into a pocket. So you may not see hardly anything. It may have been, something 6 foot wide. I've been in a mine that the stopes were anywhere from 10 to 50 feet wide and 100 feet tall.
Tell them about that one there in Mexico with the native silver.
Yeah. Now, there's a place in Mexico called Batopilas, and that mine, that mountain, it has native silver in pockets. And the miners would just follow these cracks in the bedrock. That's about all it was, just a little crack. They just follow it until they hit a pocket. Now, that pocket could have up to a quarter to over 1 ton of native silver in it. Okay. So they were just fine. Nowadays, you'd use a radar. If it was someplace I could work and this, that, and the other, I'd get a radar. I'd go in there and I'd scan 360 degrees, like every 5 feet down the tunnel. You got 500 feet of tunnels, and you can look about 30 to 50 feet into the rock, and a quarter-ton chunk of silver is going to show up like a spotlight. Okay, so that would be easy to do. You just sit there and then mark on some paint. 27 degrees from vertical here, 32 feet, go. That sort of thing.
I would love to see that someday.
But anyhow, it can be that. It can be, oh yeah, you can scan subsurface into the rock with radar. Okay, it detects conductivity. And so you've got the possibility that they were just kind of exploring. If you just have a tunnel and nothing else, but just a tunnel, that is suspiciously like exploration. Okay. Especially if you got like a small crack or an interface between two different rock types that they seem to be following. but there's no expansion of that beyond just the minimal tunnel. If they hit a pocket of something good, they're going to try and mine that out. So you're going to see stopes, pockets, holes, things like that. And that would indicate, okay, yes, they were mining this, not just exploring, they were mining. Another thing that it could be, let's take a look at that trench that we were looking at, the larger trench. Okay. That could have been somebody dousing, like Eva was doing. If somebody's got the money to pay the workers and they want to go out there and douse and mark the ground and say, hey, dig here, hey, there's people with picks and shovels that'll do it. You betcha. That's a possibility. There have been, apocryphal stories of people that have been convinced that there's the giant mother lode in that hill right there. It's right that direction. I just got to dig to it, and spent 20 years digging a tunnel into a mountainside and never found anything. That's possible. Now, here's something that is more common than the inexperienced would understand, and that's called mining investors' pockets. If you have, well, let's take that trench, okay? There's that trench sitting there, and some promoter who can talk the good talk stake that claim and says, hey, man, they found this outcropping here, and 50 feet down or 100 feet down, there's this big mother lode of stuff. I just need the money to do that. And then investors give him money because if, say, you're a car dealership, do you know anything about mining? No, but you got a lot of money. Okay. If you're a real estate agent, you know much about mining? Maybe not. Maybe you did it in the stock market. Hey, Alex. So you've got business people that want to get into gold mining or silver mining. It's just cool.
Hi, Alex.
And they think it might, be pretty easy to do. It isn't. Okay. But it's pretty easy to get a new investor to pony up a lot of money and then pay yourself a nice, $50,000 or $100,000 a year salary while you dig a hole. That happens a lot. There was one mine I saw in Idaho where big drift. I mean, this adit was 10 feet across, 8 feet high, track, I don't know, 1,500 feet long, and went nowhere. There was no mining or anything like that. And the story we were told was that in the past, again, somebody said, well, there's this valuable mineral deposit on the other side of the hill, and the easiest way to get to it is to drive a tunnel through. Got millions of dollars, spent it all in a couple of years, had a nice, quite a few steak dinners at the investor's expense, and then went home or went somewhere else.
Oh, man, that stinks.
Bummer, Alex. So anyhow, so you always have to be aware of that possibility too. What you may be looking at may be a scam. Okay. Somebody was scamming something, which is why you don't see any signs of mining, just exploration. Hard to tell. Okay. So you always have to do it. Now, this particular situation looked like typical mining to me, but I can't get into the workings at this point in time to see anything. Over at the Discovery cabin, there was actually a little stockpile of quartz, which we mined out. And so we know there's quartz with gold there. We just didn't know where it was and what form or whatever. But that's why we were digging so diligently right there, is because we actually had some gold-bearing quartz that we had processed. Okay. Hey, Kirby. Well, the problem also, Kirby, is that in many, many cases, like 9 out of 10 or more workings, I can't find any information whatsoever, not the slightest bit I don't know what the name is, don't know who had it, blah, blah, blah. And it's very, very difficult to get detailed information, even on this mine, okay, with, in my estimation, probably at least 20,000 tons of dumps. And guess what? One sentence, one freaking sentence is all I could find. Okay. The mine next to it one way, one sentence, even less informative. The mine the other way, zero. Okay. Oh, dear. If I had a dream to dig for something other than metals, what would it be? I like to invent. That's what I like to solve problems. So I would like to have a machine shop and a lab and stuff like this.
You would find me a crystal mine, dude.
Yeah, Eva would be going for crystals, absolutely.
Well, you see, what you're really going to find me is my patented silver mining claim with gold.
Yeah, the diggings has a lot of information, honey bunny, but you'd be surprised what they don't have. There was one particular mine, Montana B, for example. We knew the name of it. We knew the exact location. We went to the Bureau of Mines and Mineral Resources in Butte. They could find that much information on it. Okay. Now, it's entirely possible that when, maybe next year, they open up, hey, Red Wing, all of the old historical documents from the past, which is currently in storage because they built a new friggin' museum here. You can go and look into newspaper articles and things like that. I hear that that's a very rich trove of information, but it is currently unavailable in our area. Loads of fun. But anyhow, so yeah, I say Montana B, we knew the name, the location, everything, zero data. Absolutely zero. This one we were looking at, one sentence. That's it. That one in the general top of the hill that's 500 feet down, it's got an 1,800 foot long access tunnel, 1,000 foot long cross tunnel with a vein, 40 foot thick. That's it. We know they found a structure.
Alex knows a dude with an amethyst mine.
Yeah. Okay. It have got the name, location. They did an 1,800 foot access tunnel. Then they cross cut along a 40 foot wide, 40 foot thick breccia structure that had some stoping in it. End of information. So it can become extremely frustrating when you got something that moved tens of thousands of tons, dug a half a mile of tunnels, and is so uninformative. They didn't say what the strike and I can tell what the strike was because I have a map of the tunnel, but what the dip was, the thick, any detail at all. Okay. So there you go. Really, really annoying. But Alex, we staked 3 claims this weekend. So it's an old mine, got some pretty good sized dumps. Access won't be too bad once we clear the deadfall off of the old road. But anyhow, so we got a lot of stuff to review up there at the mill. We're going to focus this week on getting the mill up and running again. I got to get that impact mill relined and everything. Not a problem. It's just going to take some time. Yeah, that's the problem, Kirby, is all of those records are currently in a warehouse inaccessible because they're building a new freaking museum. So that, yeah, the information may be there, just not available this year. So, we even know the name of the company, Alex. So anyhow, because of the timing and stuff, this mine might have been closed up because of World War II, and those tunnels may have been sealed up. And yeah, well, I'm sure somebody had one, Firefox,
check out the diggings when I get a chance.
at the time, but we haven't found any such thing. So, as I say, we've got a lot of work to do on this one, and we've got the mill to get up and running and process more stuff. We got at least probably 3 or 4 tanks full of ore to run through the mill that's already sitting out there. We just got to get it crushed and ground and in the tank, sort of thing. So we got loads and loads of stuff to do. No, Alex, it's the Montana Museum.
The Montana
State Museum, which has all the newspaper articles and all this other stuff. You know, the Bureau of Mines, that Montana Bee, we went to the Bureau of Mines. We were right there, and the guy seemed very helpful. Could find that much information on it. Now,
we had the mine name, and
if we had the newspaper records from the local newspaper, then we might be able to find some data on it. You know, apparently a lot of times that doesn't make it to the official records, but you'll find articles in the newspaper and stuff. So, as I say, don't know. It is kind of annoying.
Well, I'll be checking a few of my sources this week.
Yeah. We haven't asked them on this mine yet. Okay. We just got the information literally yesterday afternoon when we got back, looked it up, and we were able to.
Yeah, it was in the annual mineral report.
Yeah. We were able to look up sufficient information to get a name for the mine. It's pretty obvious because there were 2 mines on each side, and those patented lode claims are still there, still under those names. So I presume it's on computer data right now. Yeah, exactly, Alex. I say once stuff is missing, it doesn't come back.
Well, it's not just that. Remember back in the day before the Bureau of Land Management started collecting fees and making people do all kinds of jump through all kinds of hoops. There was no pressing reason to keep track of every single hole in the ground.
Yeah, there's tens of thousands of them around here. So anyhow, I say that's our evil plan, and we got plenty to do. Tomorrow I'll start welding. I need to get those wear plates hard-faced, the rotor wear plates, get those changed out. Then I can check the spacing on the chamber wear plates and make sure that I've got enough clearance. I've increased the thickness 1/8 of an inch and a few other little things. So I want to just double check. And so I got to do that. And I'm going to have to do some welding. I've got to drill some mounting holes in the wear plates. I got a number of things to do, and it's going to take me a bit, but oh well, no big deal. I've done it. Actually, I built it from scratch by myself, so I'm sure I can do this. And so, exactly, Shaggy. It should take me a couple of days of effort to get that thing rebuilt and back up to speed. And when it's done, it will be in better condition than when I started. The wear plates are going to be thicker, and the rotor plates are going to be AR500. And the guy over there at Schluter Metal Art, he's a nice guy. Okay, he's really busy over here in Helena, Well, he's got computer controlled plasma and stuff. And so this is kind of funny. He told me call, I think it's Steel Etc. up in Great Falls. Ordered a steel. They deliver to his place once a week. The truck just comes by. And so it should be free delivery. So I called up to Steel Etc. They had a 3-foot wide drop of AR 500 3/8 inch thick. I said, okay, fine. I want 13 inches of that. Okay. Which is like $150. They ship it down here. He texts me and says they charged my account for this steel, instead of yours. And it's like, what the hell? I gave him my credit card number and stuff. So we got all that straight. And it worked out fine because by the time I just took him the cash to pay him back and this and that and the other. And he was using the plasma. And so he wound up, I gave him the plans. I took off. About an hour later, phone rings, and he says, okay, Alex, I think I already did, but I will go ahead and check. As a matter of fact, I can do that in a little bit here. So anyhow, he calls me up an hour later. Hey, they're all cut. Want to come pick them up? It's like, sure, works for me. Say, Schluter's a nice guy. The guys at Steel Etc. I don't know. It seemed a little bit weird that they couldn't figure out who to bill it to, etc. And so I say that's a little weird. But Schluter's a good guy. So I've got my rotor wear plates now, and it's time to get to work. And tell you what, let's see if I can get a hold of Lauren here. He may be in reception. Oh, he said last time he was watching, but he couldn't really interface very effectively. Well, I'm doing a live stream. Oh, going fine. Alex was wondering if you got any information on that yet. Okay. Do you have Alex's phone number? I texted that to you, right? Yeah. Uh, could you call him direct and just let him know what the situation is? He's getting a little frustrated because it's hard to find a job here and everything. Yeah. Oh, I understand that. He's just getting kind of antsy there, so he'd like to hear your voice, I think. Okay. Yeah. Oh, certainly. Okay. Okay. Well, he's watching right now, so Alex, they got a meeting tomorrow, and he'll try and give you a quick phone call sometime tomorrow or the next day, let you know what the current status is. But right now, they're still on hold due to lack of permitting. But he thinks once the permits come through, there's a high probability that they can use your help. Did I get that correct, Lauren? Okay. He says, okay, awesome. Thanks, Keith. So, okay. Anyhow, yeah, that's another thing, Alex. Jimmy's always looking for good help with construction. Can you do and he says, thanks, Lauren, too. Uh, do you mind doing construction? Do you got any kind of modest skills? because he always could use a good pair of honest, hardworking hands. you know.
And it would be something to do.
Alrighty. Thanks a lot, Lauren. I appreciate it.
Something to do while you're waiting for the money.
Okay, yeah, keep it safe. Okay. Bye bye. He's busy welding, but yeah, Alex. Yeah, Alex is in Butte, so that's close enough, Jimmy. Um, you're in Bozeman, close enough. He's in Cardwell, which is what, 40, 50 miles. Say it's close enough. If you don't mind learning construction and are good for that, it might be helpful. I don't know. Sometimes an extra pair of just willing hands is more important than an extra pair of hands, period. You know, it doesn't have to be skilled. So, oh yeah, I'm sure you could do great, honey bunny. Yeah, Jimmy's a pretty good construction guy. I mean, he's very meticulous. He likes to do a good job, and I can appreciate. He's also really good at measuring and cutting sheet stuff and putting it over things like pipes sticking out of walls and stuff like this. He's very good at that. I'm impressed. I've had to try and do that sometimes, and I'm not near as good as he is. Did you get all that sheathing up, Jimmy? It should be up by now, I would think. Well, I'm not envying all that stripping that you got to put on there. That's a lot of work. But anyhow, so I say that's kind of the situation there. And cool. Glad you get all the sheathing up there. Now you're just getting the little trim and stuff. Well, Alex, if you're potentially interested, I can talk to Jimmy and put you two together if you both were at. Say, it's a good education. If you haven't done much construction, okay. I will go ahead and get your thing to Jimmy. Jimmy, you still got the, oh my God, where's it there? You still got the email, I think, right? No.
Yeah, Jimmy's over by
There
my
it
mall,
is.
and I'd like to go to an amethyst mine. Just saying.
Alex, phone number. Where's the number sign? There it is. Okay. Let me give him your phone number, Alex. Let's see. Contacts. Now, what I do, because I'm kind of hard of memory, I will sit there and describe it as, in this case, Butte, Alex, and then your last name. And that's what I can remember. So let me type this in.
Oh yeah, boredom sucks.
1, 2, 5, 5, 4, 6. Okay. Jimmy, in your mailbox should be Alex's phone number. Jimmy's like, can you meet me in the morning in Cardwell? That's I told you, he can use a good pair of hands. You don't necessarily have to be super skilled. You just have to be very, um, well, you have to be able to pay attention and stay safe, which I'm sure you can do that. And just apply yourself. And I'm sure you can do that too, Alex. But that'll give you something to do, and you can make a little money, and you won't be as stressed out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Work is work.
Alex said, "Yep. What time?" Okay. I sent Jimmy's Alex's phone number there, so he should be able to call you up and work out all the details.
No problem. Keep discussing it in the chat.
Yeah. And if you have any questions or whatever, you can, I can do the intermediary. Yep. What should I bring besides lunch? 7 a.m. on lunch. Oh, this is great. I always like helping people out. In this case, we're helping two people at once.
Yeah, good point, honey bunny.
It's going to be warm and sunny. So, yeah. I like to wear a light colored, thin, long sleeve shirt and a bit of a floppy hat, plus some sunscreen and lots of water. Because it's for around here, it's going to be pretty darn hot. Yeah, gloves and safety glasses coming in too. Although I'd say gloves probably more likely than the safety glasses, because he's probably just going to be handling stuff. But a lot of it's
floppy hats.
It's going to be potentially it's rough cut wood for decorative purposes. So splinters will be the issue. Just some reasonable gloves. Don't have to be super nothing, but just some kind of leather gloves. I would go with that. My hands are so tough. I usually don't need any gloves at all.
Look at that. Things happen in our chat. It's always good.
I don't think Alex needs a sports bra, honey bunny. just guessing.
I don't know. This day.
Oh, that's so cool, guys. This is what we like to do.
Now, Alex, you do realize you need to preserve our reputation for recommending good people.
That's right. My reputation's on the line, Alex. So, but Jimmy's pretty easy to work with. Okay.
I'm going to interject real quick and give some technical information on my lab stuff, and then let you go.
Apparently, somebody wants to jump into the seat here.
Just for a minute.
That's okay. I can use a drink.
It is not time for the tinfoil hat report yet, but so we get back to the lab after the tank has been sitting there, being a tank and not being agitated for 7 days, and the water still looks like mud. So I spun it for 15 minutes in the amazing centrifuge that Lauren was kind enough to loan to me, and it still looked like mud. So right now I'm running a series of tests. What I'm doing is duplicate tests. I'm using a flocculant on some of the material, and some of it I'm doing extra spinning on. And I did my titration tests, and yeah, I got the same result for the Eco Gold X from both the flock and the regular. And then I did a spot test, and I'm going to be double checking that because the stuff that I used the flocculant on, the liquid came out perfectly clear. So I'm getting a beautiful spot. However, I can't really contrast it very well with my other spot, because my other spot it starts life like orange. So now it's getting a little bit difficult here. what I'm planning to do here, if I can talk these guys into getting tests for me, is I'm planning to get 2 tests. One test sent to the lab for, you know, maybe get 2 tests. One for that's got flocculant in it and one that doesn't, just to find out what's going on. But it's looking like the flocculant is not messing up my testing cycle, which is great. The bad news is, A, the bottle of flocculant doesn't even say what it's made out of. I have zero clue on this, okay? And B, while it claims to treat thousands of gallons of stuff, you have to use a lot of it to get this material to settle.
Define a lot.
I used 11 drops in that cup, and like 1 ounce is supposed to treat 6,000 gallons.
Yeah, but those drops were diluted, right?
No, they weren't. They were straight out of the dang bottle, dude.
Wow.
They were 6 drops straight out of the dang bottle. So thick, viscous, totally undiluted crap. The goddess is not pleased with this, okay? Yeah, that's what I had heard, honey bunny. I heard that a lot of them were proteins. I just wish it would say on the dang bottle what the heck was in the stuff. I am wondering, it does not seem to cause issues with the Eco Goldex titration. I don't know what it may do in there, so I'm not putting it back on my pad. But I am wondering if it's going to behave differently if I have to use it with the glycine. We'll find out when I get to the glycine. Chris, I have not tried using dish soap on it yet. I wanted to try the flock first. And yeah, the bottle says everything about stirring vigorously for better interaction with the solids. Just really funny about that. You know, it does say that. But I'm wondering if it's going to behave differently with the glycine than it does with the Eco Goldex. We'll find out when I get that far. In the meantime, things seem to be working fairly well. It looks like I may actually be getting a decent amount of silver here. I don't know whether I'm going to be getting all of the silver that's in this material, but I'm getting a decent amount. So now I have a list of extra tests about that long to get done. So that's where I am on that. Anyway, Bear, you want to get yourself back here so you can talk to these fine people? But yeah, I actually have things going on in the lab at the moment. And I had a dead, bloated mouse in my lab water, but that's okay. What I'm trying to do, Ricky, is get the solids to settle, the ones that were still suspended after 7 days.
No, Ricky, we're not really trying to make the water wet. We're trying to get the suspended particles to stick to each other. I'm not sure how different that is, but they are different things. So anyhow, it's a totally different chemistry, physics sort of stuff. So I say that's about it on what we're doing, which is a lot of it. Don't expect any field work this week, but expect stuff from the lab, from the mill, and stuff like that. And I've got paperwork to do. I've got 3 certificates of load. Well, no, 2 certificates of load, 1 a placer. Got to get it all filled out. And that takes me, with all the data readily available, still takes me a couple of, something like that. Probably take me 2 hours to get them all done right, make copies. Then I got to go get them notarized.
I wouldn't necessarily call it flotation, Ricky. What it's actually doing is it's settling to the bottom.
Yeah, basically all the real fine particles get stuck together, and then they settle to the bottom. They don't float; they settle. But yeah, I'm not sure exactly how it's working either, but it does seem to work. And the the leach pad seems to do a pretty good job of filtering the solution. The stuff that comes into the preg pond is pretty clear. Oh, and another thing, what's the weather like tomorrow?
We're sunny through to Wednesday.
Well, tomorrow, oh, let's see. And tomorrow's Tuesday. Maybe rain on Thursday, it's showing.
Yeah, according to my phone, it was late Wednesday.
Yeah, we should probably go out there tomorrow.
Well, we are.
And dump more on the pad.
We were already going to be doing that.
We got that more solution in that one tank that could go on the pad just to dry out. But this kind of weather, we're trying to take advantage of it to evaporate excess water from the system. And so we just want to keep liquid out on the pad itself so it can evaporate, so we can get the total amount of solution in process a more reasonable level. After the winter, we basically could fill up every tank we had and have a little bit left over still in the preg pond. And I don't like that. I like to have at least one empty tank. That gives us plenty of room to play with.
I'd have to wonder if we're going to have more of an algae problem with that glycine. That's another thing.
Yeah, that's another thing. Algae might be fun with the glycine. Yep. That might be a problem.
Thing we have to watch. But first, we need to get a hold of some potassium permanganate, isn't it?
Brian was on earlier, but we can use a wide variety of oxidants. I'm kind of waiting until we get caught up with stuff, and then I'll see where Brian is at in his researches and kind of start from there. It seems silly to me to try and keep up with all he's doing when I'm not going to do anything with it for a while, because he's making a lot of, correct, Ricky. He's making a lot of progress and doing a lot of research, and so I'm perfectly happy to stand on the shoulder of giants, so to speak, you know. But no, I haven't seen Rock or Jean-Francois or Chris, Georgie. There's a lot of people that are usually here. I haven't seen Tricky Dicky yet either. Lars has showed up. But Tricky has sent us some communications about that subject we were discussing. Is all confidential, but it looks quite interesting. And I'll see what I can do on that. But like, we got so much stuff to do. And so we're going to take a week off of the field work to get caught up on some things. And then we should be in good shape. Maybe we can get even a second new tank in there before we're done. The other thing we're going to be doing is on kind of the mystery dump area there. There's a variety of different kinds of quartz Eva's been kind of sorting out. And the plan is we will sort it, crush it, and then run it through the impact mill and the sluice in batches according to type. And when we switch from one type to another, we'll shut things down, clean out the sluice, and put the other stuff through and keep track of how much weight and this and that and the other to see if any particular type of quartz is substantially different than others. I would presume the answer is yes. but I have no idea which. And so that is also something we do. I must admit, I really like cleaning out a sluice and actually getting gold you can see. It's kind of cool to have instant gratification like that. But we're getting loaded solution now. We're running through resin. We're going to be stripping resin now. So we'll be getting gold from that. We'll be getting gold from the gravity cons. Um, Eva's got a lot of stuff to do. Yeah. Not so much. It's usually not that hard to sort, although we have no objection to doing so, Honey Bunny. Um, these are generally fairly large chunks of quartz, like the size of your fist or better. So it's pretty easy to characterize them. That's Eva's job. Her eyes are better. Her memory's better than me. So she can characterize those things. Then I say, once we have a pile of a particular type rock, we'll run it through the jaw crusher and then through the impact mill. Sounds cool, Alex. This particular stuff is, yes, the mystery dump is pretty easy to identify stuff just visually. When it comes to the new mine there, we haven't had a chance to really look. I don't know how much quartz we're going to find in the dumps. Currently, we have 0 vein exposure, 0 access to tunnels, things like that. But I have no idea what we're going to find once we get some more boots on the ground. But I'm looking forward to it. It's an interesting puzzle. Ooh, new toy. So that'd be cool. I also get to use a chainsaw, which I haven't used very much in my entire life. I have a little bit, but so I'll be getting to clear a path through pickup sticks. Not at this point, Alex. We just got there last weekend, and it's a half a mile walk downhill there and uphill here, to get back. So the amount of material that can go is limited. Well, that's why we're looking at clearing the deadfall and opening up the old road. The only people who, when they say I'm in the dumps, really mean they're happy. Yep. And we got to process those samples from the Discovery Cabin vein. All kind of stuff. We'll be busy, busy, busy. And we're going to be checking out we did a preliminary pan of the Discovery Cabin dump vein decomposing sugar quartz stuff. And I just did a quick pan of like that much, and looked pretty good.
Whoa.
So I'm pretty happy.
Alex says a friend of his is collecting wire silver from a dump near Butte.
Yeah, I see that.
Lucky.
Yep.
Why does everybody else get this good stuff?
Oh, I don't know. It's probably something you did in the past life. After all, you had to put up with me, right? So that's basically what's going on. Anyone got any questions or subjects at this point? I think the dumps would be less false positives than if you were mining the ground. I have seen spots around mines where you can't find the nails for the nails. Literally. I mean, it's just like a whole layer of nails.
Yeah. Using the metal detector at Montana B would have been an exercise in futility. But I do want to bring my magnet with us when we go back to that dump.
Yeah.
And I'm not averse at all to bringing the metal.
Yeah, Alex, if you know what you're doing, you're absolutely correct. Too bad I'm not the mineralogist or geologist that can do that. So I say I don't see Rock here today, but we don't really have so much to show him anyway. But yeah, that's a guy that knows it. I presume you can do stuff like that too, Alex. If we were to bring you some rock samples, you could give us some kind of feedback on that. I've yet to learn much about. Well, what good is that? So disappointing. How am I going to put up with you, Alex?
Well, he's an engineer. They do engineered things.
Don't forget, you got to get to sleep early tonight because you got an appointment in the morning at 7.
Well, these young people can go on no sleep.
I really don't know, honey bunny. We did see some quartz on the dumps. There's obviously lots of dumps, but I'm going to be looking more for the vein in place and stuff like that at the
My
moment.
job is the dumps.
So I say
I am the
we got a
dumpster.
lot. There's other disturbed areas we haven't even been to up there. I have no idea. Say maybe we just drive to that upper dump area and go, oh, gee, a portal, a vein, chip, chip, ounce to the ton, sweet.
Well, the dumps are my job.
I say
I'm the one that
we shall see what we shall see. But
you've got to get me a hat that's a giant umbrella.
Just big floppy hats usually work better. That big floppy hat you got works pretty darn good. Yeah. So, hey Jeff. Yeah, I don't know. I'm doing okay, living cheap right now, but it feels weird not to own anything really.
I haven't seen that one out on YouTube, Alex, but it sounds interesting.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of his things, and there's also that ore deposits 101. That's also good theory stuff.
Coal mining isn't quite the same as metal.
Yep.
Or crystal. Coal is normal stuff.
Yeah, coal mining is an entirely different type of structure.
And I think in some ways it's a whole lot simpler. It's like you can't mistake anything else for coal.
Well, it's visually identifiable. There's a seam, you know. Oh no, I haven't done anything with it, Jimmy. We got back yesterday afternoon. Offloaded the samples and stuff from the trailer. The stuff from the Discovery Cabin vein, the finer material, that was just soaked. So it's sitting in the wheelbarrow drying out because we can't, crush it through the RC46. If it's damp, it just packs up in the jaw crusher. So there's not much we can really do unless it's pretty dry. So drying that out. So I got a lot of samples to crush and grind and split, and then we can worry about.
Alex, what do you think, Bear?
What?
Alex says he's heard it's hard to get a job in metal mining after being a geologist in oil, gas, and coal.
I don't know. Obviously, they're totally different disciplines. And as such, I would imagine a coal geologist is better than no geologist, but a metals geologist is, I say again, it's an entirely different thing. They form differently, they're mined differently. I can understand why that's not going to be much of a benefit in terms of getting a job in one industry in terms of having experience in the other.
Well, as an engineer, I would think it would be preferable to have as much experience in different types of mining as possible.
Well, yeah, but so what are you looking for? Are you looking for anybody, or are you looking for somebody who's good at their job? That's a different thing. You know.
Shaggy's got coal.
Well,
When the end of the world as we know it starts, we'll know where to get coal.
hey, come Christmas, he's stocked.
Build a big enough pressure chamber, he can make diamonds.
I've played just a very little bit, Alex, but not much. I've yet to run into some sulfide bearing ores that had enough gold or silver to make anything interesting. Hey, Walt, how's it going? Good
Hi,
for you.
Walt.
How are things going? How goes the war on um, not happiness? Yeah, I mean, oil and stuff like that, coal. Some of the things are pretty common, blowing stuff up and heavy earth moving, but other stuff's a lot of difference. Well, only if you want a present, honey bunny. If you just want to go out and buy your own coal, you can do that. But if you want someone to give it to you, you just have to be patient. Hey, you got all kinds of dead trees that got knocked down, honey bunny. Quit your sniveling. Yes, I did, Gary. One of the bolts holding the transmission to the good, Walt. So the transmission to transfer case joint had one broken bolt, which was allowing a little bit of a misalignment. We pulled that apart and replaced the bolt, and it went away. So yeah, that's done, and it's got a not a new engine, but rebuilt engine was put in just about a year ago. Uh, so no, Jeff, I'm showing the live chat still rolling. Wow, congratulations, Alex.
Yeah, that
Very
is
good.
great, Alex. That doesn't happen very often with ovarian at all.
Yeah.
And Jeff, my chat is still moving. It's not steady, but then again, comments don't come in steadily.
Yeah.
So there is that.
But anyhow, yeah, truck. It's got, I believe it's carburation. Probably got a flat spot on the acceleration, which is typically carburation, and it's it's running. Don't think I'm doing any damage to it. My son-in-law is looking around for a Holly to rebuild and send my way. How many miles on the new engine? Don't know. Probably 5,000-6,000. Don't have a speedometer, odometer. So
yeah, we never did get that fixed.
I say I have no idea, but it's been running about a year. But it's not our primary vehicle anymore. Our primary vehicle is that minivan because it's a lot cheaper. And so I say I kind of think less than 5,000 miles on the new engine. And that was rebuilt by my son-in-law.
End of May, so it's been a year.
Specifically. Okay, sounds good, Walt. I'll be happy to run some stuff through it. Um, but he built it specifically for pulling, reliability, and stuff like that. You know, it's not designed for power racing or anything to that extent. It's designed for towing and just a good solid 350. So um, that's that's what he built it for, and that's what I want to use it for. Seems great, but yeah, that carburetor's not quite working right. Um, if you're doing about 1800 RPM and try and put some power to it, and you don't have the ability to kick in the secondaries because you don't have the RPM, it just craps out. If you can, you know, drop it down a gear, get those secondaries kicked up and take it up to 2800 RPM and upshift and get a 2000, 2100, it's got power. So I say that indicates to me it's the carburetor. There's a circuit there that is plugged. I had a guy who came well recommended locally um, as a carburetor rebuilder, rebuild it. Good. Um, I have no idea, Honey Bunny. I know that when the secondaries kick in, we got power again. When you're running at, I say about 1800 and 3/4 throttle, where it's not able to kick the secondaries, um, it'll crap out. It literally starts missing, you know. Well, that's not good, Alex.
Yeah, I think that comes under the heading of poor access. I still want to go.
Yep.
The van doesn't have a carburetor, right?
No, it's fuel injected. If it's that steep, I don't think the van's going to make it, little one. But anyhow, so yeah, Gary, the truck is getting there. Hi, Jeff. Oh, absolutely, Jeff. Lay them on us. No, we didn't have that engine rebuilt. That engine was a 400. It tended to have overheating problems. And so my son-in-law, who rebuilds engines, um, took a 350 and rebuilt it from scratch.
Okay.
What good is a cutoff for mesh size and gravity separation? Okay, are you talking placer or hard rock? If you're talking placer, you want your cutoff size of the largest particle of gold you consider economical to go after. If you got your occasional, um, yes, he did rebuild the carb. Okay, hard rock, you're probably going to, the problem's going to be grinding for mineral liberation. And that will depend upon the ore. As a general rule, you're going to want to grind it less than 50 mesh top size. Quite often you go down to like 100 mesh or something to that effect. It depends.
You've got a video with the classifying and showing how you.
Yeah, it's highly variable. The nice thing is, if you're good at the hand panning thing and you can send off your tailings for assay, you can get a pretty good idea where you've got your mineral. Will 100 mesh work on a shaker table? Should. Yep, you just have to adjust it for the fine particle size. Absolutely. 100 mesh should work fine. Again, this is where you adjust your tilts and your wash water flow and things like that to effectively separate. But yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about that. If you can get 100 mesh, and you're going to want to classify so that your oversize isn't going onto the table, send it back to regrind. 。 . . 。. . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . Yeah, that's one nice thing about our impact mill, Alex. It seems to ball it all up. You may have to go to a leaching to get a good recovery, Jeff. Uh, have you panned out, down to the real microfine stuff and visually measured the size of the gold? Because that's a critical criterion. Another thing that I did was I took some Montana bees got really super fine gold. Okay. And I just put some crushed ore in a bucket, stirred it up, let it settle for a minute, poured off half the water, and did that about 3 times. Then I let that settle, send it off for assay, and the assay was higher than the head grade. So that, just indicated we were going to have very high losses with the gravity separation.
Yeah, Mom Baker Mining has some good equipment.
Okay, that is a good question. Let us see if I've got that over here. Oh, just a second here. No. What the hell? Okay, there it is. Roasting dishes, pocket measuring microscopes. There we go. Control C. Go back to you. Control V. That's where I got him. There you go, Jeff. Yes, Alex. Sometimes you can cut the grind down. Um, the nice thing about leaching is it works entirely the opposite of a gravity separation. Gravity separation works better the bigger and rounder the gold is, and leaching works better the smaller and flatter the gold is. So they complement each other, which is why a hybrid system should be more efficient than either one by themselves. Okay. We seem to be getting about 50% of the gold from top of the hill through the sluice. We get 50% of the gold, which is fine because we're going to get about the same amount from the leaching. But if we weren't leaching, I would not be happy with that 50%. I'd be trying to get up 70, 80%, which means you're going tables, something constant, more complicated than a simple sluice. But since we seem to be getting everything down to 500 mesh, roughly, 250 to 500 mesh, somewhere in that way, we seem to be getting almost 100% of it. And we know the Eco Gold X will dissolve stuff up to 150 mesh with no problem. I don't see where the issue is. Also the Bob impact mill gives a better grind than the Stutenroth. It's a finer grind, and so that should improve recovery also. I love the way that impact mill just rolls up the electrum into little balls. Yeah, if you're especially talking heap leach, Alex, absolutely. If you get better than 70% recovery on a heap leach, you're doing pretty good. With that Gold X, how long does it take to dissolve 150 mesh? It'll dissolve it just sitting in a beaker in about a week. I'm presuming that if you were at a higher temperature and agitation, it would do it in a couple days. It's easy to recover 150 mesh gold gravity wise. So we're getting down into the 200-300 mesh, and that kind of stuff dissolves in a few days just sitting in a beaker. So I presume that would be somewhat similar to, say, a pad leach or a vat leach. Absolutely, Ricky. You are absolutely right. If you have coarse gold, your leaching becomes a big problem. What is the picture on uranium intro? I'm not sure which one you're talking about, Jimmy. Are you talking about the one on this live stream?
Yeah, I think he means what's the picture on the intro.
Okay. Maybe he's got a voice to text thing going on here. Um, then, yeah, back to Ricky for the moment. Um, if you have coarse gold, it is not very amenable to leaching. If you've got fine gold, it's not very amenable to gravity. Therefore, if you've got coarse and fine gold, grind it, gravity it, then leach it.
Okay, two questions there.
Okay, so what is the picture on the introduction? That is me chipping out some of the quartz from the quartz vein at the Discovery Cabin top of the hill. Okay, we finally dug enough dirt out there, we exposed the structure that they were actually mining on. Okay, will iron oxides be removed during cupellation or must they be smelted first? As long as it's a reasonable amount, your iron oxides will be removed during cupellation. Um,
Yeah, but actual black sands can have other things, and they can require a longer smelt.
yeah.
And
If
a longer smelt in the first place before you get your button.
Will acid attack magnetite? Not sure, Alex.
I haven't found it to attack magnetite very well.
I wouldn't think so, but I don't know. Um, will iron oxides be removed during cupellation or must they be smelted first? They'd be removed more during the smelting than the cupellation, Gary. The flux during the smelting is what sucks out the iron oxides. By the time you get to cupellation, the stuff that's in the um, lead button, you shouldn't have much iron in there at that point.
Black sands require a pretty aggressive attack with the smelting and a long smelt, I found, to get decent, to end up with a decent button in the first place. Because there's a lot of other things in black sands, and magnetite is pretty darn refractory.
Magnetite's pretty easy to get rid of using magnetics. I say things like hydrochloric acid can sometimes be useful, although you have to make sure you don't have any oxidizer in there. You're going to dissolve your gold too. Yes, Jimmy, that is very decomposed quartz. It's basically right on surface. And
it's clay at this point.
We have chunks of big, massive quartz. We have smaller chunks of quartz, almost like sugar quartz. And then there's a lot of clay there, which I presume are the weathered out sulfide minerals. Okay. So I say that's thoroughly oxidized, mineralized quartz vein there.
Yeah, when I on the rare occasion
that may be where your leaching works.
Something that's got black sands in it to play with. My first goal is getting them out so that I can work with them separately.
Yeah. I would think that. Oh, and by the way, we're also setting up a suction setup so that instead of using a snifter bottle, we're using like a filter flask sort of setup and a vacuum cleaner, so we can suck the gold line out of the pans pretty easily. That's something you can also do with black sands. A lot of times, is you can get a good concentration with a gravity, just tapping on a pan or whatever, and suck it out and get a pretty good separation. This is where leaching comes in handy. Yes, they are, Alex. They're never heavy enough so they really suck well. So annoying. Plus, they have a limited amount. Whereas, say, with a filter flask, just turn on the vacuum cleaner, no problem. So let's say we never had a need for it before because we weren't using gravity separations. Now we do. So we got it. No big deal. We'll make a video on that too.
Yeah. Did
Uh,
we ever figure out why the first attempt at using silicone did not work?
silicone what?
When we were putting that thing together.
Oh, no, I have no idea. That's a good question. Um, Jimmy might have good input on this one. I had GE low odor silicone clear. I was wanting to glue a small flask onto a large washer, so I got something heavy that's not going to get easily knocked over on the countertop. And the glue just wouldn't set up at all. The silicone would not set up. Cleaned everything off, used the standard white high odor silicone, and it worked just great. So I have no idea. And go from there. Yeah, Gary, another thing you could look at is the equivalent of a wavetable sort of thing. That if you got iron oxides, a small wavetable will kick the gold up to the top where you can suck them off. Have I had any problems with YouTube videos in the last 2 weeks? Not that I have noticed, Brian. Um, ochre clay could be. Huh. Okay, Alex. It's about a year or so old. Yeah, I know, but I had silicone laying around. It's like, what the hell? You know, silicone's a great glue. I wasn't in a big hurry. So I thought, man, just put it in, put the flask on there. Should be ready tomorrow. Nah, wasn't. So annoying. Uh, uh, I agree, Alex. I don't know what the problem is. Okay.
Well,
I,
I
I
like
threw it out.
6002, Alex, but the thing is, we had silicone right there, and I'm like, you know, as much as I would love to own every adhesive in the known universe.
Now, let's see. What were you sticking? Glass to galvanized steel, Jimmy. I don't know if the galvanized had anything. Glass shouldn't be an issue, I'm sure. But is the zinc and the galvanizing going to be a problem? Say, I have no
Why do we
clue.
got it to stick at least?
Not with that stuff.
No, not with that stuff.
I had to change to a different
We
tube
had
of a
to use
different
the other
brand.
one.
Yeah, different brand, different, thing. It was the high odor stuff, and that seemed to work fine. It set up in a reasonable period of time, no problem. Edge galvanized first. I think I'll use that other silicone. It worked fine. Shouldn't be super hot, Alex. It was just it didn't get below freezing and probably didn't get above 80 degrees. You know, so shouldn't have been too much. Not very extreme at all. So I don't know. It was kind of odd, but what the hell? Let's see here, Walt. After you crush that, Walt, I'd go ahead and gravity concentrate the sulfides, like panning, and then roast them. Make sure when you're roasting, you do it so that the fumes go in a safe direction well away from you. You can have nasty stuff in those sulfides like arsenic, etc. So make sure that those fumes go well away from you. Avoid those like the plague. But yeah, crush it. Um, it's like a cast iron pan over something. Okay, Jimmy, that is correct. You have to have fresh air
I
for
still
roasting.
would like to try chemical oxidation on sulfides one day for fun.
Well, all I know is big companies have never found a profitable way to do it, and they got billions of dollars at
Yeah,
stake.
I know. I said for fun. What part of the term for fun are you not getting?
So, yeah. So, as I say, cast iron pan, heat, breeze, let it roast thoroughly, glowing, and then cool it, regrind it, and gravity separate it, and you should be able to see if there's any coarse gold. Now, coarse is a relative term when it comes to hard rock, but you should, if it's good grade, you should be able to do it, and you might even be able to get good gold out of it before you even roast it. I'd try panning it first to see if you've got separatable gold, and then roasting it, crushing it, and panning it again, and see if there's a big difference. $1 a pan, that's pretty good. Well, that would be undesirable, Alec. Well, it depends. Maybe if you've got a good market for the arsenic, it's not bad. You're welcome, Walt. But yeah, sulfides are a pain to deal with in general. A lot of times, especially if you get like arsenopyrite or whatever, it can be really good grades, like 5 ounces to the ton before you concentrate it. And then you just got to sell it to a refiner. Yeah, they could probably sell arsenic just fine back then, Alex. They used it for rat poison. They used it for cosmetics. They were a little bit more relaxed about such things back then than they are now.
Ancient Romans used it in cosmetics. They also used.
What was the grade, Alex? The spelling is actually OCHERRE. OCHRE.
It is the oldest pigment in the world. Ochre comes in about 5 different shades, red being one of the most common.
Yeah.
Oldest paint in the world.
Yeah, ochre is an iron oxide. Yep.
Comes in white, gray, red, purple, and yellow.
Interesting. White and gray, I didn't know were ochre. Yep.
There are white ochres and there are gray ochres.
Huh. So what was the ore grade, Alex, if you could say? There you go, honey bunny. Okay. Yeah, say arsenopyrite. I prefer a well oxidized material. It makes life so much simpler. But that's why, placer miners say, well, why should I go hard rock? This is so much simpler. They're right, it is. But you're generally not going to get the kind of grades as you do.
Confederate Gulch.
Yeah. Red copper oxide, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, anyhow, red copper oxide, cuprite, huh? Hmm. Learn something new every day. I like this job. Oh. That would suck if your gemstone got eaten up by the vinegar and the pickle juice. I was just having a hamburger. Oh. Yeah, ruby silver. I've heard of ruby silver. Or the acid in your sweat. I'm sorry, I don't sweat acid. I glisten with electrolytes. Actually, I did wash it with rubbing alcohol, Jimmy. I washed it with rubbing alcohol and then dried it. It was very, very surprising to me. Silicone is one of those things that's pretty darn predictable in general.
Yeah, I mean, we were not, and we got an unexpected result.
Yeah, I can understand that, honey bunny.
There's a bowl of something on this counter.
Yeah, I know. I was eating it when you decided to bail from the seat. I don't know why we didn't see ore dumps, ore stockpiles, but I presume that they had been shipped for processing or whatever. Um, and so they just didn't have any stockpiles left. When they shut it down, they probably shipped whatever they had stockpiled. I didn't see in our very cursory investigation any areas that, just a gentle hump of quartz or, broken quartz or something like that. That's on what we call M1. That was that side hill cut on the mountain above what we call M2, which was those big dumps down below. There was I don't know, 5 to 10 ton pile that was obviously piled there. And since they could have easily thrown anything over the side of the hill, that indicates to me that they were stockpiling that for some reason. We did not have a chance to sample that. Once we get a quad down there, we can throw some buckets of it in there, haul it back, run it through the RC46, and see where we're at. You know.
I already have a stockpile of quartz at M1.
I say, we shall see. But yeah, girl and geezer were pretty tuckered. She was doing great. I had her lead on, figuring I could keep up easier than she could necessarily keep up with me. And I had to stop her one time and just say, "Hey, wait up. You're getting ahead of me." She was doing pretty good. Uh, does that Lexel, is that got a solvent in it? Seems to me that stuff was a solvent type glue.
Very steep country, Jeff.
Oh, it was steep country. I say the mountainsides are in the 3-to-1 slope range. So even the roads, I say we just calculated it from Google Earth here. They're like 20% grades. I am not absolutely convinced it was a breeze coming out of that hole, honey bunny, because when I tried lighting a piece of paper and then blowing it out and getting smoke, I couldn't duplicate what you would expect if there was air blowing. It could have just been cold from inside there compared to the
No,
thing.
it's my belief there's a small void. I'd say there's enough of a cave in that not much air is getting through unless there's strong breeze.
Say, I do not know. Say, I can't prove it one way or the other for sure at this point. I couldn't probe into a hole. Did we find any rails? At the ones with the big dumps, answer yes. Very sticky silicone. Cool. So, yes, there were definitely rails at the big dump area. So, as far as I know, you're correct, Jeff. So let's say I'm basically convinced there's some adits in there. I don't know how much it would take to open them up. I would agree, Honey Bunny. Say it's beyond the scope of the exercise at the moment, but we'll keep it in the back of our minds. There's something weird about that area because if you look at that cabin, it collapsed underneath it. And well, where did it collapse to? It's on Forest Service land. So, mobile earth moving equipment would be, it would require permitting.
Let me put it this way. I would rather he work on any other project because I have now had 5 dreams that particular place kills him somehow. Okay? I would prefer he not be digging around in there.
Yep. Okay, Jimmy. Yeah, I say I want to work on that other one too because it's big, compared to anything else we're looking at. It's not a little prospect. And yes, Brian, we had discovery notices before we came back. Absolutely. Not discovery notices, and copies have been filed already. And I need to do the discovery certificates or certificates of location, and get those all filled out and filed and everything. So I say we got a lot of. Oh, there you go, Alex. By the way, we can make keto pizza dough now too. Over there in Bozeman at the that was the Walmart, right?
Yeah, we got to go back to Bozeman.
Yeah, well, Alex is in Bozeman. That could be cool.
Well, then Alex can go shopping in Bozeman.
Yeah.
No, we got to go to Bozeman anyway.
At the Walmart in Bozeman, they had the King Arthur keto pizza flour. So, yeah, it works pretty good. It tastes just fine. A lot less carbs than regular pizza crust. Again, mobile earth moving equipment requires permitting, Mr. Virtue. In terms of technically, not too much of a problem. It's a lot more disruptive to get a little mini excavator up there than there is to get a quad. It's going to leave a lot more. I agree, Jimmy, or at least at the ends of winter to extend your season. Okay, let's see. Not there. Let me renew. Not there. I got the ones from Walt. Not there. Guess what, Alex? It says put me in my spam folder. So I want to move to. Okay. So where's the move to thing? Red, unread, no. Move to. Oh, come on, you piece of crap. How about inbox? Yeah, I'm searching for inbox. How's that? Thank you, you stupid computer.
When things show up in spam folder, mark them no, not spam, and they go automatically to the inbox.
Yeah, right. Used to be you could send them to the inbox. Okay, here we are back to Alex. And here's a report. Tectonic metals. Ooh, sounds amazing. The inaugural 2023 drilling intersects gold mineralization in every drill hole, extending mineralization 1.8 kilometers along strike and to a vertical depth of 300 meters at the Flat Gold Project. Okay, this is the caption. Tectonic 2023 drilling intersects gold mineralization in every drill hole. Gold mineralization can be very, very small. Okay. It doesn't say profitable or anything like that, or high grade anything. It just says gold mineralization. Back where I used to work, to get a 0 was almost impossible. Traces and nils were reasonably common, though. Extending mineralization 1.8 kilometers along strike. In other words, along the structure, they managed to hit gold an additional 1.8 kilometers along, and then to a vertical depth of 300 meters, or about 1,000 feet. Ooh, a mineral exploration company applying a disciplined, upfront, de-risking strategy to address the economics, community benefits, and sustainability of the company's projects. Man, they've got a lot of buzzwords in there real quick. To me, that's a red flag. Okay. Intersected gold mineralization. All 19 holes drilled intersected gold mineralization, and 19 drill holes ended in mineralization. Now, what that means is 19 holes actually hit some gold somewhere. 12 of the holes bottomed in gold-bearing rock, which means it could be deeper. Okay. Mineral science is a total 74. Such a Chicken Mountain intrusion target. Reinforces the notion that we are dealing with a very robust gold system. Again, lots of buzzwords. Further support this finding, identify a primary bedrock source for over 1.4 million ounces of recorded placer production in the surrounding area. That's not bad. 1.8 kilometers represents only half of the 4 kilometers gold in soil anomaly. In other words, more than normal background someplace where there's no gold. Okay. That's what it means. It can be important, could be a non sequitur. Only a third of the geophysical anomaly and 1 intrusion target out of 6 district scale intrusion targets. Okay. So they're basically saying we got a lot of stuff still to look at. And we're like doing great. Our journey has only begun and more drill testing is warranted. Again, buzzwords. Drill program denoting long sections. Let's get some numbers here. Okay. 147.83 meters at 0.38 grams per ton gold, otherwise known as 1/100th of an ounce. Fine for heap leaching as your minimum ore grade cutoff. 76 meters at 0.55 grams per ton, or about 0.015 ounces per ton. 24 meters at 1 gram per ton, or 0.03 of an ounce per ton. Okay, 0.5 grams, 4.5 grams per ton. Okay, now we're starting to get into something interesting, a little better than a tenth of an ounce there. 1 gram, zero point 0.6 grams, 0.4 grams. Oh, here's an interesting one. 1.4 meters at 211 grams per ton gold. Now that would be, if I'm not mistaken, something like 6 or 7 ounces per ton. Pretty good. That was in the middle of 24 meters or 75 feet at 12.56, or a little less than a half an ounce per ton, 0.4, 0.45. 85 meters at 0.63 grams per ton. Again, 2/100ths. 0.6 grams per ton, 0.56. Okay, here we've got 4 meters at 6 grams per ton. So that's about a 2/10 of an ounce. Okay, 0.9, 0.57. 0.5. Only one other interesting one here, 5.67 grams per ton, which is 0.15 ounces per ton. See what I mean about, see, there's gold all over the place. Yeah. And most of it is barely heap leachable grade. Definitely not going to get it. All drill holes intersected gold mineralization somewhere. 19 holes drilled across a maximum vertical depth, total of 2,633 meters. 12 drill holes ended in mineralization. In other words, they bottomed the hole. It was still mineralized. That's a good thing. Oxidation as deep as 350 meters downhole. Low sulfur in all drill holes. Drilling has identified a potentially higher grade, greater than 1 gram per ton lode that is open for expansion. 3/100ths of an ounce per ton. Okay. That is a very good example of trying to polish a turd. Okay. There's everything they say is absolutely truthful. But if you don't know what you're looking at and you don't have the knowledge base, you could easily be taken in and think, wow, that's amazing. There's gold everywhere. Well, yeah, there's gold in the ocean too, just not in any concentration you can get it. Okay. So just, that I agree, Alex. That's a good example for people there. I hope everyone, I was understandable to most people. And that's a classic illustration of how these promotional releases come out. What they're trying to do is mine investors' pockets, in my opinion. They're saying, wow, look at all this interesting stuff. If we just spend another $20 million, we can get more information. And that's fine. But see, the people who are getting you this information are making 6-figure salaries. They don't make that 6-figure salary if the project doesn't keep going. The money makers say there's people in management, I guarantee you, that have stock. They're trying to jack the price of the stock and offload some of it. There's nothing there that gets me excited at all. Okay. Just a classic case of a big low-grade mineralization. Probably not, Jeff, because it was like 1.4 meters. What it is just a little pocket. But you can't mine 2 kilometers for one pocket. And so that's probably just one little pocket they happen to hit. little vein that they happen to hit, um, which is fine. If it was right on surface and you were a small company, uh, oh, thank you, Gary. Appreciate it. Um, but it's one of those situations where, to a big company, so far is garbage. Okay. There's nothing there that's mineable. On the other hand, if that intercept was close to the surface somewhere, then that's the sort of thing that someone like us might be able to take advantage of. So this is only 10 feet deep, 1.5 meters at 6 ounces per ton. Yeah, so there's only 100 tons there. Well, let's see, let's do the math. 6 times 100 times, what is it, 2,300 right now? Yeah, it's only $1.38 million worth of gold in 100 tons. Okay. So sometimes the small miner can take advantage of the millions of dollars the big miners spend on stuff because you're just targeting something very small, way below their uh, interest level. If you've got somebody in the news recently, John Force, race car driver, famous, by the way, he was injured in a crash. But I mean, someone like that is not interested in drag racing for 12 packs. Okay. SA. So that's something. Sometimes these reports can be helpful to us, but a lot of times these companies just won't turn loose of them because, again, they're mining investors, not mining the rock. I know Lauren said there were some things that he's run into during exploration that he's waiting for the big companies to drop the claim so that he can jump on that little spot, that little pocket. And that's fine. It's an opportunity niche for people like us. Yeah, he was in a bad wreck, Shaggy. This was a bad one. When that car hit the wall, that roll cage crunched. Okay. Yes, I agree, Alex. That was very good. It's not just how they do exploration, but how they promote projects. As a general rule, if a project is really good, let's see. Let me look at that again. Let's see. Where was that? 1.4 meters. It doesn't tell how deep it was in the hole. A lot of these are angled hole too, so apparently they're looking at, for veins and stuff, they're trying to hit at 90 degrees. I'm guessing that's probably 50 to 150 feet deep. Kind of hard to tell, Yes, Alex. First mine I worked at, the guy who was the president said that the other people said, "Why are you trying to open a mine? That's not how you do this game. You just mine investors." Okay. Yes, Alex. They write totally different reports for internal versus external consumption. Because when they're writing a report for internal consumption, they have to cover their asses and explain the risk quite well. Otherwise, if things go awry, they can lose their job. No, Shaggy, when you're drilling holes, vertical is usually easier, although core drilling is a bit different than reverse circulation, which is what I'm used to. But what happens is, let's say you've got a vein at this here. If you drill a hole this way through it, you get an intercept that's thicker than the actual vein. You don't get a true thickness. If, on the other hand, you drill this way, you get the true thickness of it. So if you have these structures laying at 60 degrees, you're going to generally drill your holes at 30 degrees. Not necessarily, Shaggy. If you're mining, say, a vertical vein with layers, gravity is your friend. If you're doing a horizontal vein, then you got to leave rock standing to hold the weight of the rock above it. Whereas if you got a vertical vein, you need a lot less of that ground support. So it'll vary tremendously depending on the exact structure you're dealing with. Yeah, exactly. Chip sampling, which basically just means drilling a hole and collecting all the debris that comes up. Usually it's done reverse circulation to minimize contamination for big companies, but basically it just means drilling a hole, collecting what comes up, and then analyzing that, as opposed to drilling a core drill. It's a lot faster, a lot cheaper, like 10 times or more cheaper. You can drill, if you got a big rotary drill, you can probably drill 1,000-foot hole in a day with a big rotary mobile drill, just truck mounted drill, nothing fancy, not like a derrick or anything. On the other hand, how fast does diamond drilling go, Alex? I would think probably somewhere in the neighborhood of inches per minute. What's the advance rate generally with uh, core drilling and medium rock? Yeah, I understand, Alex. Granite's a lot different than shale, but say what's again? I've never core drilled. I've never been there when they're core drilling. I've I've done chip drilling. Yeah, exactly. When I was chip drilling with an air track, I would typically get 500 feet a day. You know, that was kind of an average day, about 5 holes, 4 or 5 holes. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me a bit, Shaggy. If you're flushing your hole with air, honey bunny, that's not a big problem. If you're below the water table and you're having to flush with water and stuff, it becomes a lot worse. But yeah, um, chip core drilling gives you more information. Absolutely, you pay for it. Absolutely. Uh, say chip drilling is pretty good. Jeff, I would hate to give any specific advice on ground support, just sight unseen or whatever. Um, but clay is not usually good in a hanging wall. I can tell you that. You want something that's going to support well. You're probably going to wind up having to lag the whole thing. In other words, planking on top of your timbering. Yeah, I say that would be a very bad situation. Yeah, clay, anything that'll tend to crumble, squirt. We had a wall over there and at Goldfields. It was like mica phyllite sort of stuff. Oh my God. It wouldn't hold up at a reasonable angle. Just driving the equipment over it, and it would just squish under the equipment. And this was bedrock, but that mica just slides against each other. And oh my goodness, it was just horrible. I mean, you'd have to have the grader out there twice a shift to smooth it out so the big trucks could move at a reasonable speed, and just didn't do this. Because once it came over and started punching down, it would just squish the stuff out of it, So, yeah, that's not a good situation to have. You probably need to really get some expert advice on that one. I am not a qualified expert on difficult ground control situations. Okay.
And especially not when you're not looking.
Yeah, especially if I'm not looking at it. But yeah, I would use extreme caution on that and seek some expert advice. Yeah, I said there's lots of ways. Basically, you can support just about anything if it's not a deep mine. If you're down 3 miles, if that rock wants to move, it's going to move. Well, that wouldn't be much fun, Alex. Good. That's what I would say there. Hey, Tricky. Thank you very much for the information you're giving me. It's very detailed, and I'm looking forward to trying some things out. Yeah, Jeff Code, if you got some people near you that have dealt with the exact same situation, talk to them. If they will talk, they will be invaluable because they'll be able to tell you what the mistakes they made were. Uh, oh, thank you. Yeah, that'll be interesting. One more thing for us to do in our non-existent spare time. We're having fun. Yeah, well that's really nice, Alex. Yeah. Listen to this little. The engineer giving us a tour was showing us all the things that were wrong with the mine, explaining how it was a death trap. It was pretty concerning hearing that while being deep underground with no escape way.
Yeah.
Oh. Hey, Tricky, it's almost as hot as the Philippines over here, but a lot drier. Oh. I have a feeling Eva might be one of your 20%. Have no opinion on me.
What?
About the subject you emailed us about.
Oh.
Okay. Oh. Let's just say this, Shaggy. You rarely get any more than what you pay for. Sometimes you get less. Well, that's pretty bad that it hadn't cleared the blasting smoke in 2 days. Thank you, Ricky. You mean a slusher bucket, Alex? Yeah, I hate those, Alex. I do not like mines that I'm not comfortable in. For sure. That's not a bad way, honey bunny. Oh. Are you going to be giving a report, little one? It's already 8:30.
We don't actually have anything to say. But
Okay.
I do have a picture to show you.
Well, she's got a.
You can tell the goddess what is wrong with this picture.
What is wrong with it?
According to this dude who claims he was prior service armored infantry for the Coast Guard.
Armored infantry for the Coast Guard?
This is the button that switches your AR from regular semi-auto to overlapping auto. A civilian has no business with this capability.
Do you have any idea what that button is?
No?
Okay, I do. Just a second, folks.
I don't think you'll be able to see it, guys, but weird things are going on Twitter. What else is new?
Okay, that is the fully auto switch on an AR, according to this guy.
It is no. It's the button that switches your AR from regular semi-auto to overlapping auto.
Overlapping auto.
Overlapping auto. I swear it's a genuine thing. They said so on Twitter.
Alex says a lot of people in the Middle East think the forward assist button is the accuracy button. Okay, what it is, little one, you see my AR, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you pull back and you release. Now, what happens if the bolt doesn't go all the way forward? That thing has no pushy to it. That's what that is. That's to push the bolt forward. It's got a little ratcheting.
So you mean it doesn't put the gun in overlapping auto?
No, it just puts the bolt back in battery.
Oh, okay. I was just double checking. It might have been his bump stock. I wasn't sure.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's called the forward assist.
Well, now, I'm sorry. You people should not be laughing at him. He's a genuine expert. He was in the armored infantry for the Coast Guard.
The armored infantry.
So he's a genuine, absolute expert. Okay.
Armored infantry in the Coast Guard. Were those the guys that sank in the tanks off of Normandy?
No clue.
Hey, are you sure that's not a troll?
Positive.
Because that really sounds like a troll. Okay.
Well, let me put it this way. The guy who posted it is a normal person. Okay, the guy who posted it is sane. The guy who wrote it is most definitely not sane, given the number of flags in his profile. And the guy who replied to him and said, exactly, thank you, is even crazier. Bizarre and unaccountable as it is. I mean, this kind of happens. Well, let me get you a new number, by the way. I shall get you a new number. And yes, then I will speak for a few moments. I just wanted your opinion on what that button was. I mean, overlapping auto sounds really, really scary. Just saying.
Well, Tricky, that does sound like a relatively inexpensive retirement plan. Tricky says, not sure what overlapping auto is. Also, we just made an agreement here for the guys digging the shaft, and Mag says, say, if they die in the shaft, we'll just backfill them and put a small cross on top.
That's a perfectly good plan.
Sounds like paratroopers in the police corps.
Oh,
Peace
wow.
I tend to agree with you, Alex. That one just sounds so out there. He says that's an A+ tier troll post.
Well, let me put it this way. All the crazy people are taking it seriously.
Well, of course they are. That's because they're crazy.
Note, we went from 10 to 306 since the beginning of the live stream. That's billion with a B, by the way.
So we've gained almost $300 billion in debt since the live stream started.
Yeah, that's because of the time of the month, I believe.
Wow.
Well, 306 million.
I would think so, honey bunny.
Million with an M, sorry. But yeah, that's since the beginning of the live stream.
Oh, with an M, 300 million? Okay, yeah. A third of a billion.
But it just goes to show you, I mean, in 2 hours, a third of a billion. So 6 hours billion, so that would be 4 hours and 4 billion a day.
4 billion a day. Yep.
Or something like that.
Okay. Yeah, well, Alex, sometimes that's the only really thing to do. I think there was a mine in Utah that had a similar thing, you know. Oh, well, I don't know about Shaggy, but I'm asymmetric. I tell you what, oh, my butt was dragging the dirt this weekend. Whew. I'm feeling my age. I think something's a little bit out of adjustment, and we're checking it out, see if we can find out
the
what's.
goddess, has been trying to keep you flying right, but oh no, we all know what you're like. Hi, everybody. Oops. Well, it has been a blessedly uneventful news week. As a matter of fact, if you read the newest early revision of the annual jobs report from 2023, it was an uneventful jobs year in 2023. Apparently, we actually added 0 net new jobs in an entire year. The goddess is pretty sure that number is going to be revised downward again. That seems to be a common theme these days. Hi, Tricky. Tell the babies hi. Hi, Jeff. Hi, Shaggy. No. And yes, supposedly, women are going to get drafted. This is what happens when you want equal rights. They give you all the crappy ones, and then they take away the halfway decent ones, like single-sex bathrooms and single-sex changing areas and women's sports. They take away all the fun ones. What can you say? Well, yeah, honey bunny, there's an entire universe of negative numbers that need to be explored here. Shaggy, actually, the last numbers I saw, almost 1 million citizens lost jobs or became, what's the term they use? Underemployed. Whereas about 750,000 immigrants, to use their term, have become gainfully employed. Huh. Funny how that works. Good evening, Mr. Virtue. So let's see what's in the news. Well, there isn't really any news. Just, there is 0 in the way of news. They're having an election over in England on the 4th of July. Good for them. English politics is very confusing. There's a Tory party, and a Green party, and a Conservative party, and a Labour party, and a Reform party, and some independent people. And they have this thing that they call hustings. Hustings are where the candidate comes to a little sort of town hall thing so people can ask questions. Well, some of the women have had to cancel theirs because they've been getting death threats and stuff because they actually made the mistake of admitting publicly that as far as they're concerned, dudes who wear dresses are not chicks, and women who bind their chests and grow beards are not dudes. This seems to be becoming an unpopular opinion. But Nigel Farage has been making amazing speeches when he isn't being pelted with rocks or milkshakes. And Nigel Farage's Reform Party is making a great deal of progress. And J.K. Rowling made the news again because what do they call her now? The silent head of the Labour Party, a female. A real one, actually, which is even more disturbing, publicly announced that she and the people of labor's leaders would be happy to have a discussion with J.K. Rowling about her views regarding gender and single sex spaces and things like that. And JK immediately slapped back with a long list of women's organizations that labor has banned from their various events and tried to get canceled publicly and got their social media accounts shut down and was claiming that they were all hate groups. And JK said, well, if you talk to all these women who also have a stake in the game first, I'll be happy to talk to you after. Labor is not very happy with that for some bizarre reason. But it's been quite fascinating watching their politics over there. So many of their politicians have been unable to answer a very simple question of, you know, what is a woman? It's just a very simple question. For some reason, it's just not working anymore. Meanwhile, in mining, Ganfeng sues Mexico over lithium permit cancellation. Now, this is the thing. Mexico had an election recently as well. The death count amongst the political candidates was somewhere between 34 and 37. When all was said and done, a chick got the job, an actual one, not a dude in a dress. And the goddess still has not figured out which cartel or collection of cartel of cartels, actually wanted her in office. But regardless, things are not going to go well south of the border. Ganfeng sues Mexico over lithium permit cancellation. China's Ganfeng and two of its subsidiaries in Mexico have initiated an arbitration case against the country's government over a canceled mining concession for an advanced lithium project in the state of Sonora. The request by Chinese lithium mining and processing giant Bancanora Lithium and Sonora Lithium was posted on Friday at the World Bank's Dispute Settlement Center, the International Center for the Settlement of Investment Disputes. Well, that sounds fancy, don't it? The case centers around the government's decision last August to cancel Ganfeng's concessions. The move followed former President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador's nationalization of Mexico's nascent lithium industry in 2022. In 2021, Ganfeng acquired Bacanora Lithium, which was in the midst of a mine development worth 800 million with an M. The company's goal at the time was to kick off commercial production in 2023, but Mexican legislators approved a bill in April 2022 granting the state full authority over lithium mining, and activities were halted. While the industry backed Ganfeng, saying the government could not lawfully cancel concessions, yeah, right, Mexico's economy ministry upheld the original decision. Well, of course they did. The Sonora project comprised of an open pit mine and processing facility, which were expected to produce 35,000 tons of lithium annually, providing the country with a domestic source for the battery metal for its rapidly growing electric vehicle supply chain. Hmm. The goddess wonders just how much worse than made in China HO in Mexico would be in terms of electric vehicles. Just saying,
China hecho en Mexico.
good point. But that's where that is.
Tomato,
We are going to be seeing more rumblings coming from south of the border affecting the mining industry as a whole. Already the Mexican government is starting eyeballing the nationalization of silver mines again because, well, government, and the government is owned by the cartels. The goddess is pretty sure that what's actually going to happen here is the cartels and the government are going to dicker back and forth and they will decide on a nice even Steven split so that on paper the government will nationalize these silver mines and the cartels will still be getting their share because as it stands right now the cartels have made serious inroads into the mining industry, which brings up the amount of GDP in Mexico that comes directly or indirectly from cartel activities, to somewhere north of 65%. So, yes, Mexico is indeed a terrorist narco state. Yay! Just the kind of people you want for neighbors on your southern border when you don't have a southern border anymore, I guess.
We're turning into a dictatorship. So,
well, yeah, but that's
tomato.
That is neither here nor there. I'll take my chances.
Well, wait a minute. If we got a country, it's got to be either here or there, somewhere.
And another random odd news as we celebrate weird stuff. Brazil prosecutors seek $668 million with an M from Vail and BHP for gender violations in reparations. Okay, let's find out what's going on here. Brazilian prosecutors are requesting mining companies Vail, BHP, and their joint venture Samarco to pay $3.6 billion with a B raise, $667.73 million, for allegedly committing gender-based violations in the reparations process over a 2015 dam burst. Now, there's a sentence you don't see every day, I will say. The new lawsuit comes as Vail and BHP hope to reach a tentative agreement by the end of this month with federal and state authorities to settle reparations over the disaster, with their offer currently standing at 140 billion reais. The prosecutors claim the company's based reparations paid so far on a patriarchal family concept. Violating women's rights, and requested they also pay each of the affected women 150,000 raise, according to a document seen by Reuters. Okay. Key quotes. Quote, since its beginning, the registration of victims has focused on the man as the head of the family. A methodology that, as a rule, placed the man as the generator of income and established other members of the family would only be his dependents, the prosecutor said. By largely ignoring women, registering them as dependents or helpers of their husbands, the registration process made their work and economic activities invisible. Oh, the humanity. Vail and BHP say they have not yet been notified about the new lawsuit. Really now? Must be a chick in charge of the paperwork. Samarco did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Why am I not surprised? The November 2015 collapse of a tailings dam at the Samarco mine in the town of Mariana caused a wave of toxic tailings that killed 19 people. It left hundreds homeless, flooded forests, and polluted the entire length of the Dulce River. And $1 equals 5.3914 raised as of the writing of this article. In absolutely unrelated news, in case you missed it, the UN was talking about having some sort of human rights meetings, or other, they're always pretending to do that. Apparently, the Taliban and some other Afghani mullah type people are on the Human Rights Committee or something. Well, they got very annoyed that there were going to be women at this meeting. Totally unacceptable. They got even more annoyed when they discovered that the issue of women's rights was actually going to be discussed by the United Nations human rights groups and things. So they fulminated and they hand waved and they played stompy foot, and the UN immediately canceled all the females that were supposed to be there, and they canceled all of the discussions regarding women's rights that were going to happen. So yes, indeed, women are now invisible to the UN. This should not be surprising because, in case you missed the news, England utterly embarrassed itself last year when they nominated their brand new woman to the UN Women's Committee. It's a dude in a dress.
Well, this solves the whole problem.
Funny enough, over half of the women on the UN Women's Committee are dudes in dresses.
See, problem solved.
Yeah.
No women's issues.
Make women invisible, and that's the way it's going to work.
Yeah.
Oh, and apparently the dudes in dresses are upset because we refuse to believe that they can have periods. So if any dudes in dresses are watching tonight, all right, honey, you can have a period. You're welcome to the one I used to have. Okay? Just saying. I lost mine long ago. You can have it. That should work fine for me. But it should. I mean, it's not like I need it anymore. Sadly. So let's see what else we have in the news here. Bank info could be at risk in possible Russian hack of Fed. Breaking news. A Russian hacking organization appears to be in the process of blackmailing the Federal Reserve. Well, they can just take a friggin' number because the rest of us wouldn't mind blackmailing the Fed either. Just saying. On June 23rd, 2024, the criminal organization Lockbit 3.0, a Russian ransomware cyber criminal group, publicly stated that it hacked the Federal Reserve and implied it would release over 33 terabytes TB of juicy banking information containing the details of America's banking secrets unless a large ransom is paid. I would definitely like to see those papers. More specifically, the cyber terrorist organization said the Federal Reserve and the U.S. government have until tomorrow afternoon, June 25th, 4:27 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, to comply with the undisclosed monetary demands. A Lockbit tweet last night alludes to the hacking group's displeasure about the Federal Reserve's response to their demands. You better hire another negotiator within 48 hours and fire this clinical idiot who values Americans' bank secrecy at $50,000 US. Yeah. Somebody actually offered them, apparently, only $50K US for all the secrets of the Fed. I wish I had won the lottery. I would definitely outbid the Fed on this one. Only a flurry of cybersecurity news websites have reported on the situation so far. Notice the mainstream media has been completely kind of absent on this. Meanwhile, the Fed itself has not yet confirmed publicly that indeed this serious hack has actually occurred as Lockbit claims. It's possible Lockbit cyber terrorists are simply playing a prank, and they have not actually accessed and downloaded 33 terabytes of sensitive data from Federal Reserve servers. Knowing the Federal government's cybersecurity, yeah, okay. They have played such pranks in the past. Brett Callow, a threat analyst at the cybersecurity firm NCSoft, told the Daily Dot he believed Lockbit was merely attempting to garner attention. Lockbit's claim is likely complete and utter nonsense, and a tactic designed to get its ailing RAAS, ransomware as a service, back into the limelight. Given the Tuesday deadline, though, it may not be long until we find out. Whether Lockbit's claims are true, there have been many hacks, and Lockbit and the United States government have been battling back and forth. According to Simon Sharwood of The Register on February 19, 2024, the National Crime Agency, in collaboration with Europol and other international law enforcement agencies, seized control of darknet websites belonging to Lockbit ransomware gang as part of Operation Kronos. Only weeks ago, the FBI released 7,000 decryption keys that it obtained from the group. Keys that would enable prior victims of ransomware attacks to finally access their frozen data. Also, 1 month ago, the U.S. government indicted and imposed international sanctions on Lockbit's administrator, Dmitry Yurevich Koroshev. According to the U.S. Department of State, as of May 3rd, 2024, the government is offering a reward of up to $10 million with an M dollars for information leading to the arrest and/or conviction of Lockbit's Dmitry Khoroshev in any country. The most recent U.S. response was triggered by Lockbit's activities in May 2024 when the organization conducted more successful ransomware attacks around the world than any other terroristic cyber group. Ooh, impressive. Lockbit started its activities around 2019 and has since conducted multiple high-profile ransomware attacks on major companies, banks, and government departments around the world. Some of Lockbit's most prominent attacks included the United States Department of Justice, Fulton County, Georgia, Boeing, British Royal Mail, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company Limited, and the port of Nagoya in Japan. Wow, very eclectic taste in targets here. The U.S. government tends not to pay ransom demands since doing so encourages further hacks. Hold up. We have no problem paying off Iran. We have no problem paying off Palestine. We have no problem paying off Hamas or Hezbollah or the Taliban, but we won't pay off cyber terrorists.
Well, you got to draw a line somewhere.
Instead, the DOJ and other departments tend to pour more resources into finding the culprits in partnership with international agencies while remediating the damage. If Lockbit 3.0 indeed has 33 terabytes of Federal Reserve data, the implications could be severe.
No, honey bunny, it's not working. It's talking at Boeing that'll get you killed.
Could be more vulnerable to identity theft, to say nothing of the breach of Americans' privacy related to their past spending habits, Social Security and bank account numbers, and other private information. More fundamentally, such a hack could further undermine the confidence in the Federal Reserve System worldwide. So down into negative numbers from zero. Okay. Meanwhile, ransomware attacks connected with the financial system could prompt central planners to attempt to fast-track a central bank digital currency as a means to protect the U.S. dollar, aka Federal Reserve notes.
Oh, so the feds are behind this.
And probably. Oh. And supposedly provide more security via blockchain technology. No matter the response, a serious hack of the Federal Reserve conceivably poses a threat to national security, the stability of the Fed, the fiat dollar, and the current monetary system. So just another Tuesday. Just, confidence can be fleeting. And when there's little more than confidence backing the system, we're indeed in a precarious situation. Really now. It will be interesting to see what happens with that. I certainly would love to know what was in that data. It would be very, very nice.
Take you a long time to look through it.
Oh, yeah. Control F. I'll find the things I want fast. Just so everybody knows, gold is at $2,331 and silver is at $29.48. So we're looking good there. We are holding fairly stable considering what's going on. Around the country, a lot of people are reporting that premiums are holding low and stable in their various local coin shops. For some reason, a lot of people are reporting that buffaloes seem to be kind of in short supply for a generic of late. If you want buffaloes, apparently you have to order them online because nobody's finding them in their stores. They're finding Aztecs, they're finding Asahi rounds, they're finding, Pacific Northwest, Elemental, other generics, but not your good old-fashioned buffaloes for some bizarre and unaccountable reason that nobody knows. Regardless, silver and gold are still on sale, so it's a very good idea to back up the truck and get some, Get in the habit of getting it with every single check that you get. You get money, a percentage of it goes into metals. This is the way things work. I mean, just saying. And in news from dystopia, a very, very weird scientist has come up with an idea called the prison of the future. Yeah. You really don't want to look this up. Or at least I don't think you want to look this up.
So you're going to tell us how?
Well, I could tell you that if you do a search for the prison of the future, you will see that our dear friends in the mainstream media world have started to talk about this just a little bit. Okay? It's called Cognify. There's a 6.5 minute video out on it. Yeah. This makes the fact that Starlink is Skynet look all nice and happy and rainbow unicorny. Okay? You do not want to look this up unless you feel like being severely disturbed by the idea. But basically, to put this in a nutshell, this yo-yo has a plan where prisoners will go into these nice little pods, and in a matter of 22 minutes, their brains will be downloaded with all kinds of rich, intense, absolute deep memories with emotions and everything attached to them of their entire prison terms for whatever their crime happened to be. And they'll experience remorse and they'll experience empathy and they'll experience all kinds of other shit. And after they go through this proactive therapy, their family will be updated on their brand new memory set and they will be released as absolutely reformed characters. And it's a really, 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 really bad idea.
Brainwashing.
Correct. Oh, no. Brainwashing is
brain pressure washing.
Worse than that. Okay.
Brain
but anyway,
smelting?
Yeah, as I said, if you look up the prison of the future, you will find a 6-minute and 23-second video on the matter on YouTube. The prison of the future, Cognify. Yeah. This is a very, very, very bad idea. And people want to give this dude money to figure out how to do this.
I got a better idea.
As a matter of fact, the WEF, remember them? Started talking about weird ideas like this a little while before AI all of a sudden got really, really smart when it had been really, really stupid before. Quite interesting how that tends to happen. Just one of the many things that tends to happen.
We could use them as test subjects and me running the computer. What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, Eco Brain X. And yes, Shaggy, this dude makes Elon look relatively harmless. And mind you, when I say Starlink is Skynet, I am not kidding. Okay? So, yeah. You really, it's totally dystopian. It's beyond totally dystopian BS. Okay?
So they could give you years of torture in just mere minutes.
Exactly. And as somebody pointed out, you bet the first thing that's going to happen with this idea is stuff that makes Total Recall, the movie, and the story behind the movie, the science fiction, look tame. And of course, somebody's going to decide to try to use it for porn at some point. And organized criminals are probably going to decide to use it to actually torture people at some point. This is just the kind of things that happen. Just saying. It is a very, very bad thing. But in the middle of all this, Julian is free. Yes, one good thing has happened. Hopefully the poor guy stays alive. Okay? At the moment, Julian is free.
Good.
Okay? Assange released after time served. Plea deal with the DOJ and departs for home. WikiLeaks has released its first footage showing Julian Assange as a free man emerging from Belmarsh prison looking triumphant and joyous, and soon after boarding a plane to his native Australia. Words cannot express our immense gratitude to you, yes, you, who have all mobilized for years and years to make this come true. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Follow WikiLeaks for more information. But yes, Julian Assange is finally free. Please let him stay alive, but he's finally free. That the best dang news this week. Oh, and apparently Lord Malarkey is like internally absent and on vacation or something because his schedule has had absolutely nothing on it for the entire week. Nothing. Zip. Zero. Zilch. Nada. Absolutely nothing. He is holed up somewhere rehearsing for the great debate. So we shall see. Just saying.
Oh, and in humorous irony, the Boeing Starliner crew may have to be rescued by SpaceX Dragon capsule because their Boeing capsule is malfunctioning at the space station and may not be able to return home. So,
well, what else is new? It's Boeing. Nothing new there. I mean, just saying, that's Boeing. Do we expect anything else to happen with them? But that is where we are in those matters for today. Keep the pantry full. Buy silver. Buy gold. Wouldn't hurt to have some platinum too. If you decide to stack copper, I would stack pre-1982 pennies and lots of plumbing fittings. Plumbing fittings are excellent things in copper or brass. Just saying. And remember, if you don't hold it, you don't own it. Oh, and let me update that number.
Oh,
Where is the pencil?
down there.
Let's see what we got here.
Oh. I think it was according to WikiLeaks, Mr. Virtue. He asked, Julian Assange is free again. Which one and according to who?
According to WikiLeaks, the one that was in the prison in England for the last 1901 days.
Might be a while, Lars.
And we're up to 369 million now.
Yep. Anyhow. Well, if it is a huge pile of trash, they probably won't steal it either. So, anyhow, life's interesting. I'm kind of wondering what's going to happen on Thursday with the debate, because this is Trump's to just basically kick back and go easy. Just look calm and reasonable and let Biden talk. I think the people who are going to come out worst are CNN.
Well, after the business they pulled this week, yeah.
I say they're just desperate. They're sinking like the Titanic. I would suggest you might want to keep your eyes on the Eastern European interface, as some things seem to be getting a little frisky over there vis-a-vis the U.S. and Mad Vlad. We shall see what happens, but it could get kind of interesting. And let's see. Aside from that, we're just going to be doing our thing at the mill. And what do you call it? This week, we're probably going to stay in town. And then next week, we're going to be heading back to the top of the hill is the plan. And hopefully we'll get a lot more information from the new area there. Oh, any other questions or anything to bring up here? Yeah, Brian, I'm wondering why I'm not getting your stuff. I'm gonna have that's Boss Recreational Mining, right? Don't see. Yeah, that would be pretty funny, honey bunny. Let's see if I can find it here. I'm wondering. Okay, let's see. Apparently it's unsubscribed me. Okay, subscribed again.
Your YouTube does that too?
Oh yeah. It's a very bad game, Shaggy. Don't know how it's going to end. Well, it never ends. It just changes from one inning to the next. But yeah, have no clue. It's getting interesting. Darn it. Anything else going on here? Anyone want to say something or ask any questions? I'm getting a little worn out. It's been 3 hours. Goodness. Oh, I got welding to do tomorrow. And then we got to go out to the ranch, go out to the mill.
Welding in rooms and ranch.
Okay, well, I don't see anything coming up here. And again, I want to thank Eva for being a very big help this week. I'm not actually sure. I think Rock has some ideas, but I think in Hard Rock, thank you, Tricky. Yeah, we're working on that too. Oh, you just set up the video lab. Cool, Brian. Oh. Okay, I think I'll take Honey Bunny's hint there and call it a night. Thanks for showing up, everybody. Happy prospecting and keep it safe out there. Kiss the babies, Tricky.